What's good, folks? Elib here, Creative Sound Beat Project. I decided to go podcast form in or by way of video, talk about the ongoing topic. There's no edits to this video. I'm just going straight in. So, yeah, let's get some music going. Let's play some of that Kevin Elib lo-fi in the background. Anyway, the topic of this video is concerning or geared around AI technology. This has been a topic that I've been seeing a lot lately. Some of the YouTube creators or whatever you would call them. It's a brewing conversation in the community. Actually, it even hit my community. You know, the people that I talk to on a daily basis, Discord channel, we started talking about it and hitting around this topic. And it's here. It's here. And it's definitely a hot topic. You guys are welcome to comment to the video and state your case. And, you know, if you agree with some of the points that I make or disagree, I'm totally fine. You know, it is what it is. But this is definitely a topic. So a lot of you guys been asking what's my thoughts around this topic. And I have a nonchalant approach to it because I look at it at a different angle with AI. Artificial intelligence has definitely creeped in. It's all over the place now, you know. And people are, I guess it just depends on who you are. So what is I'm just going to give you my definition of what AI is. I'm not going to be reading from the dictionary or we just kind of, you know, approach. That's what this video is about. My approach to all this and what's going on. So basically, artificial intelligence is pretty much automation of what the computer thinks. And so they built this to be smart, you know, being able, and it could be used as the creative tool, but it can also be equally as a crutch to some people. And I think that's the main deal right here. You know, a lot of people just thinking that AI is taking over. That's the catch point. Gotcha. That's the catchphrase. AI is taking over. You know, robots is taking over. Machine is taking over. And you know, I don't know, but if we break it down, I have some points I like to get at, right? So AI is really just something in place where you hit a button and it randomizes an idea and it spits out something, an image, music. It can be a printout of something. It's basically automation and randomizing ideas, and is doing it in a way or in a smart way where it may be used as a creative tool to some people. So for instance, in the music industry world where I live, you think about like some of the things that came up over time, like chord generators, like Scalar, for instance, which is one of the platforms that I use a lot. So Scalar comes up and spits out, or there is presets in there, right? But then it has like things in there that allows you to just do things automatically. So when you press a key, there's a chord generated. Press the next key, there's another chord generated, and you put it together, right? It's really not your own, but it can be because the author behind it is actually putting things in place, which would be me. I get to go in and, you know, take the idea, concept from it, and then I can go and just mix and match it to fit the song or where I'm trying to go. I can, you know, delete MIDI notes and whatnot and, you know, make it fit. So, or like samples. If we go back to sampling, right? like, if just think about it, like some of the guys, or like real musicians, right? Real musicians kind of envy those guys who sample things and put it together, and now it's the thing, and they're getting more attention, so to speak, and then people just you know upset about that. That's not real music. You didn't come up with that. But you know it is still a creative form, because like I said before, there are people that had to put the stuff together and construct it. So it's still kind of an art form, knowing how to take certain parts of a sample and construct it in a way that fits the vibe of where you're trying to go. So it's still producing or still making. You just didn't come up with the entire composition or the melody or the chord progression or whatever. All you did was just went in and just move stuff around. If you look at it like that, then it's like, oh, okay, yeah, it's just another way, another art form, another way. People taking the other, works and construct it this way and put a different kind of beat over it. Okay, it's still art form. You know what I'm saying? And then I guess we got used to it, so now it's a thing. Still some people who upset, but it's a thing now. Well, people use samples, so would that be AI or sort of? Because it's like taking something else that you didn't necessarily do or created yourself, but you went and took that. You know what I mean? Now we have AI, because now what it's doing is there's virtual instruments or programs that are spitting out bass lines or chords, it's coming up with the songs for you. So when we use that in music, is that AI taking over? I think for the most part is mostly geared towards people who can't play instruments. Just those people who say, I want to make a beat too. I don't have any music background, but I need help. But I want to be in that game. So artificial intelligence, it's here, and it's, but it's really nothing different than what your DAW is doing. Like Studio One, for instance, now we have this thing called chords, where you can detect chords. You know what I mean? And it's not making suggestions. Cubase does that though. Cubase can suggest the next passing chords, or chords that fits in a scale. So is that AI technology? Maybe, but maybe it's not advanced enough to do what newer programs are doing now. Now you can go to websites now. Things are on websites where you can upload music and get it mastered. You know what I'm saying? AI technology, like it takes your music and listen to it, and it makes decisions based on the frequencies and based on, what's going on. And maybe you can, customize it in a way where you say, oh, this is hip hop. You know what I mean? Or this is pop, or this is R&B. And so now it takes that approach, and it gives the hip hop. So if you chose hip hop, it gives the hip hop approach to it, and then it listens to it. But isn't that the same thing that Isotope is doing? Isotope is doing the same thing. It's AI technology behind it, because it's listening to your tracks and it's making adjustments, like this thing called Relay, right? If you put Relay on all your tracks, or the plugins that talks to Relay, you hit a button and it's actually mixing the song for you. Or just in the regular plugins that they have, like Nectar, you know what I mean? You get to hit a button and it listens to whatever you have going through it, and it's making the decision for you, and you get to say yes, okay, yes, I like that comes close to it, and then you can go back and customize it, make fine adjustments or whatnot. So that's AI technology right there. And you know what I mean? Like it's kind of been there, and I think the whole gist behind all of this is to make music accessible to people who first of all, could not afford to go to big studios, you know what I mean, and record a song. There's a lot of talented people out here, but like, who do you talk to? And when you find somebody to work with, usually the cost factor is the biggest factor, you know, which is why we had that whole episode of producers on SoundClick. Remember that? SoundClick and MySpace, you know, and platforms like that, where now they took advantage of that, and now we got people selling beats for $25. You know what I mean? Or like get 300-400. You know what I mean? And that kind of hurted the community, so to speak, because it's like it's undercutting producers out here, talented producers that's making a living doing this. Now we got these computer beat makers. You know what I'm saying? These computer beat makers came in and just stole the shine, made it affordable for a lot of people. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like it's, with that whole concept, making it affordable to people who can't afford the custom beats, you know what I mean, the real beats, and work out a serious deal with that producer where you get to tap into their network or net worth, depending on how you look at it, and being able to shop it to different labels or, different deals or whatever the case might be, kind of have that relationship, but instead you paying $25 for a beat because that's what you can afford. You just need to get that song out there, and then you get it on YouTube and it blows up. Boom. You know what I mean? And then over time, we got platforms like Splice. You know what I mean? You got Splice, you got Loop Masters with the Loop Cloud deal, and there are some other platforms. Arcade might be another one, where there's samples that are available on those platforms. Would that be considered AI? Not necessarily, but kinda, because when you go in and you search for what you want, it's like these things are being populated. Boom. You search for it, things pop up. And nowadays, what you can do with these plugins, like they're constantly updating these plugins where you can add them into your session, and now the tempo is adjusting itself. So not only is the DAW browser working with the tempo that you have set, like Ableton Live or even Studio One, Bitwig, you know what I mean, where you just can just browse through your different samples on there, and when you play them while your session's playing, it's playing along with the tempo you have, and in some cases change the key to, or there might be the key of that sample. You just go to the one that fits the vibe or whatever, but you can always warp it or pitch correct the key once you grab that sample and bring it in your project. So the browsers was always doing a bit of AI work anyway, right? Artificial intelligence, right? It's smart, It's not like you playing a sample from your file system. You know what I'm saying? You're going through the browser and it's doing this intelligence type deal. But Splice is doing that now. Loop Cloud is doing that. Where you go through their bigger cloud service, you have to pay, it's based on a credit system or whatever. But you get to play the song, the samples you're looking for with the song that you're creating in your session. And these things are artificially intelligent, and now it's doing its thing, and then you drag it in and do what you got to do. But would it be artificial intelligence if you use, even before all of this topic here, using plugins with presets? Because I think the whole concept is, again, this whole deal where it takes out the hard work. In some cases, it makes people lazy. I'm just gonna say it. I'm just, hey, we keeping it 100 on here on this YouTube podcast. You know, it makes some people it makes some people lazy. Like it's definitely an uproar right now because beat makers who develop techniques and skill behind creating and doing what they're doing, just like real live instrument, people who can actually play. Is it like dang, we out of a job? We like what's going on? I kind of look at it a little bit different, because in order for this AI technology to exist, there still needs to be people behind the scenes creating this stuff for these programs. So, like, this is kind of how I look at it, Well, I'm a drummer, so what I'll be doing is coming up with drum chops and, making that available, which I kind of start doing. But then you run into this whole deal with using these type of platforms, and now it's accessible to a lot of people to download and using their projects. And so now we're talking about copyright issues, because a lot of these are royalty free products. But the problem is, if one artist is using it, they pull a sample from somewhere, and then you got this other artist that think that sample is pretty dope and they use it. Well, now you got two different artists that's using the same sample. So who does it belong to, and who do we sue? Do we sue? Can anybody get in trouble for that? And I think it boils down to people just being greedy, man. Like, if you make your product available on a platform such as Splice, it's available to a public domain, so to speak. So you really can't copyright the music because you download it from Splice. Even if you go in and chop it and do different things with it, I'll say it makes it more interesting when it's anything that's dealing with melody. If there's melody involved in the song, it makes it hard. You know what I mean? Now, if you're using drums, like one shots like that, I feel like you can get away with even using a full drum composition, a full pattern, like 4-bar loop, 8-bar loop, whatever. I don't think that's the issue, because you can never really copyright drums, right? All you can say is like, yeah, I know where those drums come from. I know what pack that they used to create this song. But it's not going to be a big copyright issue there. But when you got guitar riffs playing a melodic line, or even vocals, that we use for like ear candy or whatnot, I think the lines become blurred at that point. Although it's on a platform where it's used for general purpose, anybody have access to it, it's still going to be one of those things. It's like, it's okay that you use this sample until you blow up. You get signed a record deal, and then it's like, wait a second. I know I said it was royalty free, but if you're gonna get signed, then we need to talk about this. I don't know. That's one of those back and forth topics, and it's really touchy because I'm the type of person where, like, if you did not want it out there like that, then don't upload it. Don't make it available as royalty free, and it not be royalty free when it comes to, you got to think about all of the aspects. If some artists get discovered and they blow up with your sample, you know. But theoretically, it puts you out of the game, so to speak. Like your sample becomes popular, but your bank account does not stand up next to that. The artists blew up now. They win a Grammy, and it's like, man, they won a Grammy off my sample, yo. But where how can I get it? How can I tap into that? Like, bro, you know what I'm saying? I kind of see why that aspect is a thing. But again, you did put it up on a site, a royalty-free site. Anyway, we're not going to ponder on that for long, because I can see myself getting in trouble. It's just different people look at things differently, or like no one really thinks about that type of stuff until it happens, right? And so all we could do is just learn from past experience, mistakes, and just do better next time. You know what I mean? That's just kind of where it is. But I mean, it's still a lucrative business getting into the game where you sample design and making it available for people to use in their tracks. I just think that the approach might be just different. You know what I mean? Like, if that's what you're gonna do, you gotta have a mindset or be willing to see past the current need. A lot of people get in, to make money, right? That's the concept, right? But at the same time, I don't know. I might just be going off of the rails here, but those are some things that we talk about on my live streams or in some of the videos, and even in my Discord channel. We hit topics like that because it's definitely a ongoing deal. But yeah, and we can't end the conversation without talking about waves. The thing with them. Yeah, that was crazy, right? Made a full subscription, everything subscription model, and then they went back on it. I'm not gonna say too much on that, but it kinda. No, I'm just thinking. Maybe I shouldn't go into that. Like, I have my own thought frame when it comes to stuff like that. But there's definitely some AI technology and some stuff that they're doing as well. But whatever. We're gonna leave that. But I'm glad that Waves is as a company, as a business move, I'm glad that they brought back the perpetual license, because the whole subscription thing just kind of, yeah. But I will say this, the interesting thing about them, and I think that it fits the topic of this AI discussion we're having, is that the community had such a uproar about what was going on that Waves played into, not upsetting the community for extended amount of time. It was almost like, okay, everybody, subscription, everybody, boom. It was like it just happened like that. And then when the community got wind of that, videos started brewing, and then next thing it hit certain people and was like, are you serious? What? Let me go back on here. And by the time some people got wind of it, then already reverted back. It was like instant. It was like a nudge, like, hey guys, this is what we doing. But the point is, the community was not having it. And for that reason, they made the switch back. I feel like it's all a strategic, it was done strategically. That's just kind of how I feel. That's the reason why I didn't want to stay on that topic too long, because, like I said, I have my own. But anyway, with that being said, with the AI deal happening, I feel like, well, it just depends on what you guys think about it. Is it helpful? I look at AI technology as tools, and I don't look at it as it replacing any of us. That's what I think. I just feel like it's tools to create and do what we do. They definitely introduce a creative aspect. There's things that we never would think of, or maybe we do, but sometimes due to the industry, the radio, for instance, has a strong presence in what we listen to daily. If they keep playing the same thing over and over on the radio, what do you think gonna come from that? So mentally, we're creating things to keep up with what they saw fit, and what should be regular radio rotation. And so that's kind of, it's like it's setting the mood for the industry. And now everybody is trying to copy that and do the same exact thing. You know what I'm saying? And then they do it enough, and then somebody else do something different, and then here comes the next wave of, now the hi-hats is doing this. Okay, now everybody's trying to do that. You know what I mean? And because that's the latest sound, or that's the latest technique in how, whatever, right? So it's a lot of that, and I feel like that, listen to the radio, and that shapes the sound. Everybody doing the same thing, but who's going to say, let's do something different? I remember a time, this some of you guys watching, you remember the conversation we had on one of the streams. I remember a time where, like, hip hop, during a certain time, everyone had a different sound. It was still urban music, it was still considered hip hop, but the different groups and different artists had a distinct sound. Like, for instance, Timbaland, you can tell a Timbaland beat from anywhere, right? But then you had Outkast. Outkast had a different style. You know what I mean? Then you have Pharrell. He had a different style. The Neptunes, right? Then you had who was out at that time? I can't think. I think Boyz II Men was out at that time, or 112, or Avant would, shoot. I'll say Biggie Smalls and Tupac was probably phasing out, like the 90s era. I mean, they was popular, but like, okay, let's include them. Even with them, it's like a distinct sound that they had. Is still all, even Jay-Z, like, everybody had a distinct sound. It was all hip-hop. But nowadays, everybody sound the same. Everybody's doing trap, and it's like they all sound the same. You know what I mean? It's whatever. but like, who will say let's do something different? Like, how do we get back to the point where things sounds a little bit different? We talking about the uproar, the uproar of the community, but they spoke when Waves did their deal. Oh no, we're not having that. No. So my point is, AI it has the potential of taking over. But at one point, do we say, no, we're not going to allow AI to come in and take over what we've been doing? You know what I mean? again, I feel like AI is a tool. You know, right now, right now it's a tool. Um, Personas is doing some things that has me thinking. I don't know if any of you guys noticed that, but it was something I said in one of my videos when 6.0 came out. I sometimes use, especially when I'm mixing and mastering, right? I import tracks that were already released, you know, on Apple, you know, Spotify, you know, popular records. I use that as a reference in my track to match the mix to, you know, I usually ask the artist give me an inspiration, like tell me who you count, you know what I mean? Like give me a focus, you know, what you think in terms of the mix or the master. And I use those as reference points in my music, you know, in here. But with 6.0, Studio One 6.0, it can detect the tracks that you're using. This is not this material is copywritten, you know, and it's like a window that pops up. You have to, I forget what you have to click on, but it's like that happens every time. And I'm like, wow. So Studio One can listen. Studio One can detect stuff. This can be a problem or it can be a good thing, you know, because some people think that using samples is okay. And that could be seen as a security feature. Like, yeah, that sample you got, that's copywritten. You can't use that. You may not know that. And so that might be like, oh man, you know, let me let the client know what's going on. Like, hey, this is, you know what I'm saying? But it is, I don't want to say it's scary because it's like, it was going to happen sooner or later, you know, but Studio One can detect that you're using copyrighted material. Is that artificial intelligence? I think so. It's intelligent. They making it intelligent, and you know, in some cases it's scary. It's like, whoa, what's so I wonder if there will become a time where if I create something that's on the lines of another song that came out, will it be like, hey, you're using the same melody as this song over here, you can't do that. You know, I wonder if things will actually go there, and it possibly could. You know what I'm saying? There was something that popped up on my Discord about bass lines, you know, AI technology in that, you know, in that perspective. And it's the same as like coming up with chords and whatnot. If you are not a piano player, you have a hard time picking out chords and playing things or coming up with bass lines. I get that a lot. Like, how do you come up with bass lines? And I'm not no keyboard player or bass player or whatever. I just have a good ear. I can hear what needs to be done in a track. Like, I've been playing with a band or listening to a lot of music. That's the other thing. I tell people, just listen, study music. But I'm such a student to the industry where I can come up with stuff. You know what I mean? It takes me a little longer, which is why my streams be like 4, 5, 1,600 hours. You know what I'm saying? But I can come up with these things and like hear what needs to happen, right? And that's how I go, you know, in. And, you know, having a plugin that can create chords for me sometimes, or, you know, different things for me sometimes, can be helpful because it introduces things that I probably would never do. Like, wow, okay, I never thought of it. Let's use it. Let's do that. Let's add that in there. You know, it just brings a different a different height, a different vibe, or height. You know what I mean? Like it's helpful. Yeah, okay, that's it. Um, so with those people who can't do that, you're using you're using plugins that has the AI tech in it to come up with stuff. That's what I feel like most of the stuff is really designed towards. So I don't think it's really making people lazy, but it can be just that, you know. Especially if you're somebody who's spitting out tracks. You're a respected beat maker and you spitting out stuff, and so like having a way to come up with stuff real quick can be very helpful. You know what I mean? It's almost like what movie editing software is doing now, and or like editing pictures. Your photography. You go in, hit a preset, boom. A lot of these programs are they have AI technology in it as well. I have one of those programs, can't remember the name, but it can detect the picture and it make suggestions for you, like an automation deal. Speaking of automation, like when you go in and automate stuff in your DAW to do, make the LFO respond a certain way, or automation to turn up and down volume levels or panning or different parameters and different plugins. That's also kind of like artificial, like instead of doing it, well, that is doing it manually. I guess it just depends on like at what point do you define AI. You know what I mean? Because AI to me is just automating things, or smart enough to make decisions for you, so to speak. So it's like, do you prefer to do automating automatically, or you do it manually? I don't know. The blue lines get blurred sometimes, but it's kind of the same thing. Well, yeah, it's really not the same thing. I just answered my own question. So yeah, automating things inside the dog, you doing it manually. But like I say, if there's a producer that's spitting stuff out, you don't have time to do that. So you're doing things that, a one button fix all problems type situation. And that's where AI comes in. Which is interesting because if you're somebody who's working like that, you need to spread some of that work. Call me and give me pass on some of that. Let me help you out. Anyway, I just wanted to make a long video giving my thoughts on this AI stuff, man. I told you I had a different approach about it. I don't know, man. It doesn't move me. It doesn't bother me. I don't mind it. I know the concept behind it. It's different. It's something new. Everybody's hopping on this stuff, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon, because I feel like a lot of people are enjoying this type of stuff. And as long as the community is enjoying this stuff, they will continue to implement and get better. And before you know it, you're gonna press a button in your DAW. It's gonna be an AI button, like literally dedicated. It's gonna say AI, bruh, and then it's gonna actually spit out an entire song for you, vocals and all, in your DAW. And then you probably have the option to randomize. Okay, I don't like those lyrics. I don't like that girl. It probably can go to each track and just randomize the voices or the lyrics. I think I probably gave somebody an idea. I promise you, man, by next year, that's going to be something that happened, and it's going to be like, oh yeah, that video Elib made. Yeah, we got an idea. We gonna do that. But I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case, where you just click a button and you know. But the scary part about that is how random is this type of stuff. Is it random enough to put out a song and not suffer consequences because somebody else has the same exact results? You know what I'm saying? That's going to be the thing right there. And then I was also sharing with my Discord community, and I'll say it here. When it comes to copyright, I don't think it's the same thing necessarily, not yet. If you're using some type of AI situation to come up with a bass line or chords or whatever, you're still coming up with things on your own, and you're using your own sounds and the vibe of how you came, you know what I'm saying? Like, the tempo matters, the genre matters, and like just what you do overall with that in your scenario. It will be totally different than somebody else that came up with the same chord structure. You know what I'm saying? Just keep in mind, you can't copyright chords. And this is something I try to break it. I try to break this down as well. Like, there's a difference between chord progression and melody. Melody is something that helps the song be memorable. You know, there's a line that just over the top. Just think about a guitarist. When a guitar solos or the hook, that's probably the best way to explain it. Just think about the hook. The hook, the chorus section of a song. The part that gets stuck in your head that's why it's called the hook. It hooks you. You know what I mean? That's the whole point. That's the melody of the song. It's not the chord progression. The chord progression is accompanying under everything else. It just lays that foundation to help fill up the song. It's like a track filler. I don't know. But it helps correlate, make the song sound sweet, transitions, and you know, and then there's a bass line under there, and then drums, and you know what I mean, strings, blah 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 blah. That's just chord progression. So that is the reason why a chord progression can be used over and over and over. You know, you guys know there's a few songs you could probably think of that has the same chord progression, but the melody is different. The melody is what you can copyright. The lyrics of the song is what you can copyright, but the chord progression, you can't copyright that, because, you know, if that was the case, then there would be only like 5 songs out, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. So with that being the case, when you're using AI to come up with chords, I think you're fine. You're okay. You don't have to really too much worry about, you know, copyright issues. But the moment you go to Splice and you download a sample, now you in a territory where you need to think about how far this song is going. If you guys are watching this video, you already know this is a topic that we talk about a lot on my streams, because you guys ask about it a lot, and on Discord. When you download anything from Splice, I usually say be careful, you know, especially things with melodies and, you know, stuff like that. But don't just take a sample and just run with it. You always have to do some type of alteration to it or whatever. But I usually just stay away from it, period. Like if there's a like a guitar sound that just kind of accompany the song, it complements where we're going, you know what I mean, like a guitar, you know, chord patterns or whatever. I feel like you might be okay to a certain extent, as long as it's not playing a melody line. You have to come up with your own melody line. And I think that's the thing. I think you okay. if you're using if you're using anything that has a distinctive, like I say, melody, it also could be a bass line. If you download something like a bass line, if it's distinctive and it's like made the source of the song like as a memorable statement, then that's another issue. That could be a copyright deal, because it's the focal point of the song. You know what I mean? If you download a bass line and it's underneath everything else, and you got chord progression going on and the melody on top of that, then you should be okay. But if the bass line act as, you know what I mean, I hope that you guys get where I'm going. You know, you get, like I say, if you got any questions, just, you know, feel free. Hit the comment section, and I'll do my best in answering any questions, or I may come back with another video answering some questions. It just depends on, you know, where all of this goes. But that's my take on this AI stuff versus copyright versus everything. You know what I'm saying? I'm Elib, once again. Creative Sound, Creative University, beat making, beat project. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Thanks.